Welcome, data people. We are Zuma. My name is Matt, and this is the Data for Good podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Zuma. Zuma is a dedicated recruitment company focusing on data positions across Berlin. The Data for Good podcast is for the world of data science, analytics, and engineering, giving you a platform to hear the thoughts and opinions of data leaders from Berlin and beyond. Today, we are joined by Stephan Schmidt, Head of Data at Ratepay. Stephan, welcome. How are you?
I'm fine, man. Thank you very much. How are you doing?
Very, very well. Thank you. Very well. It's great to have you on. We've known each other for a little while. For those who don't know who you are, can you give us a quick introduction?
Yes, I'm Stephan. I'm working at Ratepay, mostly with data. Looking back at my career, I've worked for the past 20 years with data, mostly in data engineering, and have seen quite a couple of industries and also different kind of companies, from regular corporate, bigger enterprises, and also startups. And I've had the chance to work in many different phases of them, which was a lot of fun.
Awesome. And we're going to tap into some of that wisdom today. And today we are here to talk about and cover AI and data quality. So, yeah, do you want to, on a basic level, introduce us to those two areas and what we mean about data quality when it comes to AI?
Yeah. So I would start with a simple thesis, and this is that an AI can only be as good as the data quality of the data you feed it into can be, right? If you put in bad data, the AI turns unpredictable, and you in the end cannot don't know what kind of answers you're going to get. And with all these hypes and these times that we're living, with all this hype around AI and what it can do, it's sometimes easy to forget that the discipline of data engineering or data quality is easy to be forgotten, and how important it is, right? And most of the companies, or many companies that I know, that I'm talking to or that I've worked in, for them, the amount of data grows every day.
Yeah.
Everyone tries to build up a service-oriented architecture where you have myriads of services, and every service generates its own data. You don't want to lose any of this data, because maybe not now, but maybe in the future, you have an AI product that can make use of this data and then can create value of it. So you need to keep it. At the same time, you need to ensure data quality when the data is like onboarded into your data platform, into your data warehouse, because it's really hard to fix data that's like 10 years old, and you wouldn't want to discard valuable data.
How much of, you say in the future, maybe we look back at data quality as well, how much of the standards changed? How data quality was 10 years ago versus data quality now?
I feel like that it's to me, what I see, it's an up and down, and it also depends quite on the industry that you're in. Ratepay operates in a financial industry. We are a fintech, and for us, for example, data quality is quite important because it's about money, right? Yeah. With regards to AI, you could also argue that artificial intelligence that have probably also need some sort of like moral compass, or now that people start more and more to use like products like ChatGPT, and to ask simple questions, and then they completely rely on the answer because it has been correct so many times, that it now becomes even more important than it was in the past. With regards to the standard, I feel like in the past, data quality was very important because everyone wanted really that data is correct, because it actually described or was the result of a business process. Yeah? And back then, computer technology wasn't as fast as it is today. Nowadays, we have services and products where it's totally acceptable that you lose like 5% of your data because you have so much data, and it's okay to lose 5%. Like 10 years ago, everyone wanted to make sure that not a single byte was lost. Now, for the most of the industries that I know, where I also know people, this is changing again towards, oh, data is really valuable. We might want to use it in an AI product. Let's make sure that we don't lose any data, and that we can really make sense of it.
So with that in mind, what steps do we need to take moving forward, or maybe share some of your journey?
So there's when you look at the way data progresses from its creation to, in the end, even an AI product, or in fact any kind of data product that you want to use that is supposed to be reliable. I always have this analogy in my head that in the beginning, data is really like rough, like gravel. It's very rough and unshaped and uneven, and it's just clicked. And then during data processing from different services in different stages in any data warehouse, up until the point where you want to show the data around in forms of reports or metrics, their data, this is then for me like a gold bar, where data has already an enormous value, and on this journey, on this data journey, there's multiple levels where you can start working on data quality, right? Of course, it's always good with the data producers do their job well, having application tests, data consistency tests, and so on, constantly ongoing to make sure that data already in the data producer side, like in a data source, in the database where the data is initially stored, that it's correct there. Because if it's not correct there, it's never be correct anywhere else. And then when you look at the pipelines, the data pipelines that we build, the community of data engineers, to get data from a data source into a data warehouse or even into a report, usually have multiple layers or multiple steps. And one of the first quality checks could be the consistency, where you check, okay, do you have data as you expected? Do you have the values in, let's say, column called category or something? Do you have the values that you would expect there? Does the quantity match? No matter if you have an event-driven architecture, or like if your processes are more batch focused, you usually have experience on how much data you want to onboard. Is it 1,000 records? Or is it 1,000,000 records? If this number is off, you can already react to this. So you can have a quantitative check here. The other thing is, of course, you can check for integrity also on a very early level, but also when you start dissecting data and taking, let's say, a JSON object, you take it apart into sub-objects, and you start making sense of it. You objectify the data. You can then have the next level of data quality check there, and make sure that the consistency in between the objects and cardinalities are according to what the data sources promises you. What the documentation says, what maybe the data producer, so the team, says how it's supposed to be, and look for inconsistencies, for unexpected situations, combinations of data.
Go on. I can say who's responsible for all of this?
Who's responsible? That is a very good question. In my mind, data quality sits, the responsibility for data quality sits with the data owner. Yeah. Who's the data owner nowadays? If a company uses SAP, is the data owner the finance department? Uses SAP, like in our case, for example, for financial accounting and so on. Is the finance department then the data owner? They should be. They're the only one who knows. They're only ones who know the data, if data is correct or not, because they are the ones who owning the business processes. Now it's for them, and there is a huge gap between business and technical, like data on a technical level. That our IT people or data people, that is our job to close. That is, and that is the way data is stored in a very, very, like, usually technology optimized way. And how data is represented to its own owners, let's say to the finance department, to make sure that they can make sense of that. And whoever ever looked into an SAP FI database and in the namings of the tables and columns understands my point here. So when something is very cryptical and uses completely different terms than the business side, business cannot really ensure quality, right? However, the responsibility, even though it sits, or the accountability sits definitely with the data owner, the responsibility, though, I would always see with the owners of the technical systems. In an ideal world, or in my ideal world, a data producer that shares data with others. So this is then an active process, sharing data instead of opening your gates and let others just take your or consume your data that you have as a data source. That this is an active process that in itself already contains data quality gates. That is how my perfect world would look like, because then down the line, knowledge on how to guarantee data quality for the data set that is to be shared vanishes. People focus more and more on its usage, but not so much on the idea of ensuring data quality. And let's be honest, guaranteeing or ensuring data quality in one place at one time is more efficient than doing it like 5 times in 5 different other data consumers. And also with regards to data engineers, I guess there are many data engineers listening to this podcast, and they all will have multi-layered architectures in their data warehouses. And there's, for example, one aspect that I would always recommend, and this is transforming data from the way it's technically managed, from all the technical terms, into a data model that represents business. And with that, I mean business objects. So objects that you can derive directly from the business process. Let's say business process says create a receivable with a value of 100 euros. There's an object called receivable. It has at least the attribute value, or let's say a balance of 100 euros. The technical implementation might look completely different. It might has like the columns, the tables, everything has a complete different name. Bridging this gap, turning data into a data model that a stakeholder, an analyst in a finance department can read like its own business process. This makes data validation on the business owner side way easier, and clarifies a lot of problems also in communication between engineering and business.
So do you think it's more responsibility for the technical folks to be pulling the business users closer for the translations and making it simpler, or the other way around?
That's hard to say. And once again, in an ideal world, business people, data owners would know their responsibilities and would have all the skills necessary to perform, for example, data quality checks. The reality is that business people, they have their expertise in business. They know their field of responsibility very well. They are no engineers. They do not have natural understanding on data and all the consequences that it brings if data is inconsistent or incorrect or not up to date. I would always advocate for data people, data engineers, data analysts to lead data owners and business owners towards this responsibility and work together with them. And even though data itself becomes more prominent in our society due to AI, due to all the facts behind AI. I mean, now even my grandma knew that there is data behind this ChatGPT stuff. 98 years old, just because she read it in an analog newspaper. Anyway, the data is more prominent. And people start to understand that until we are at the point where it's completely natural for business to own the data their products create, and to also be responsible for the data quality and really lift this responsibility. Until then, we data people or all the IT engineers, everyone, even product managers, have to help that and have to bridge the gap between now and the future.
So facilitate, but it's the business users that are going to be the ones who are going to really know whether the figures are right.
Yes, exactly. Give them a chance to evaluate data and to sign it off. And the less technical the data they're looking at looks like, the better they can make sense of it and can give you a valuable yes or no.
When you say yes or no?
When I say yes or no, I mean, yes, the data quality is right. This is what we want, or no, this is not going to work. We need to fix this and this attribute in this and this record, or the logic behind
it. Do we see data spreading out into further areas of the business, not just finance? Is it going to be a case that anyone across a business is going to be data literate?
This is, I think, every department. I mean, of course, not everyone would. People, we are all different, right? And but then again, like 15 years ago, no one thought, that they understand how to use iPhones and so on, and how to do this with these apps and with these apps. And now it's something totally natural. I think the future looks very data heavy, and not heavy in a negative sense, but there will be data everywhere, and people will become more and more accustomed to the fact that to the importance of data and the importance of data quality, that it is correct. And over time, every department will have its own data specialists and have its own specific industry or department specific perspective on data. But definitely there will be a data perspective everywhere. I mean, everyone produces data. Customer care services, they collect data on the cases with the customers. Even product departments, they want to know data about the products they deliver to the market. They're analyzing it. It's hard to find any industry or department where, at least in my mind, where data will not be important, where data cannot improve the world. a bit better, a bit more.
I agree. Do you think as more people become data aware, the amount of data is increasing, people become more data literate? For the data specialists, data engineers, data analysts, do you think their job will become easier or even more complicated?
Well, there will be a higher demand for good data, that's for sure. People on all levels will care more about the accuracy of data. Again, as I said, right, it's in the beginning, it's a bit of a zigzag. But I think this is becoming a more permanent thing. This awareness of data, also of data quality, because it's going to be necessary. So that at first there will be a demand, and that makes the life of data engineers and data analysts probably a bit harder, because it takes a while to improve our systems, our processes, to be more accurate, more fail-safe, more correct when they produce data. But when there's a demand, there's also then solutions. And people will come up with solutions for the data problems they face due to the demand they have to meet. And it will lack a bit, but I'm pretty sure that life will be better. And to every data engineer out there who already faces this demand, there's hope. It's going to be better.
Think there'll be an uptake in data engineers, or do you think it'll plateau for now? Where do you see the industry as a whole?
It's you mean in demand of data engineering, or?
Yeah.
I think yes. I think data engineering itself is on the rise. I would even say again, to me, in the past, looking at the past 10 years, this hasn't really. I've never really experienced a big plateau. I think it was constantly on the rise. And now I'm pretty sure that the rise is going to be much steeper, with many companies wanting to join the hype train for AI, and therefore starting to look into the data infrastructure they actually have and what kind of data they have or could collect, and wondering what kind of products they could build. So my guess is that data engineering, in all its flavors, will be on a steep rise. If not already, then at least soon.
Do you think the way that AI is at the moment, it's been a bit of hype? Do you think innovation is going to slow down a little bit now while we lift the hood, see what's actually going on, and mention the inner workings, the quality, the infrastructure, or do you still think it's just going to keep pushing on for a little while yet?
Well, this is almost a philosophical question, right? I mean, humankind really developed in so many areas so fast that we face sometimes situations where it's hard to master the stuff we just invented. I think, and now I'm ignoring the moral aspects of AI and so on. Now I lost my train of thoughts. What was the question again?
Do you think that it's innovation with AI is going to slow down a little bit while we look at the infrastructure and the inner workings before pushing on?
No, exactly, and that's where I was coming from. I think it would be good to slow down for a bit, to really reckon or recognize the impact the products that are out there already have, and also understand what they need. But then again, when there's money to be made, I guess it's really hard to stop the hype train. I think it will continue. There I'm trying to be realistic, because there is business, there's money to be made, and as always in IT, right? go forward with a product, you sell it, and then afterwards you try to figure out how to reduce your technical depth and your data depth.
Maybe there'll be a tool that gets rid of technical debt.
That would be fantastic if there could be a tool.
So what's next for data quality in particular? What are some of the new trends coming out, or new techniques and methods?
I actually have to say the techniques that were there 10 years ago were already quite complete, I have to say. What was missing for a while, and where cloud products are filling the gap now, is the ability to apply data quality on large scale. So to really validate huge data sets on a constant basis. But this is where I feel like that scalable products, be it Snowflake or BigQuery and so on, can be really, really helpful. And also continuous data processing when you look at event-driven tools like Kafka and so on. Where, of course, then you do not evaluate big data sets, but all the tiny little bits and bytes that pass your application from the Kafka store, from the Kafka cluster. It was rather a matter of technology, I have to say.
Right.
All the literature out there, how to validate data, is I think is quite on point. However, and this is something that I find really interesting, is that you have this thought of that. Well, I've just thought that you can use AI to find to improve data quality on all the data sets, while at the same time also using data that has been shared in data marketplaces that you can use to find inconsistencies in your own data set. In some cases, of course, not every use case. It's not possible for every use case, but in theory, that could be really helpful.
I mean, we could probably dig into this for quite some more time. I'm conscious of the time today, so we're going to finish up with one question. What do you think your biggest learning has been in the last 10 years of data when it comes to quality, whether it be through failure or a wrong choice? What would you say the biggest lesson learned was?
Ooh, that is a good question. The biggest learning was indeed, or the most painful learning. So that's something that really got into my mind, and that's been there, like really in my mind, constantly being active, is data that is not fixed right away or as soon as possible, whenever we fix. So the longer you wait between or until you detect an issue with your data quality, the less likely is that you going to be able to fix the data, either because the data is then gone from the data source because the data source assumed, well, data has been archived, I can drop it, or because people that know how to fix this, that maybe know the reason for the issue, are gone for good.
Right.
Or because just simply the documentation is bad. And that is one of the things that I would always recommend to people. If you value your data, and if quality and accuracy of data is important to you, set up monitoring, set up constant quality checks, and take an incident or a warning from these checks, take it serious, and fix the data as soon as possible.
Don't wait around for it to fester. No, great advice. And I'm sure many people take that away from today, but that is all we have time for today. Thank you very, very much for your time and your rich insights, Stephan.
Thank you very much, Matt. It was a pleasure being here.
Great to have you on. And to all the listeners, don't forget to like and share so we can reach as many people as possible. But it is bye from us. Thanks once again, Stephan.
Thank you very much.
Ciao for now.
All the best. Bye.